I'm Kelsey Roth, do marketing communications for Craft Beer Cellar, and I'm also a Certified Cicerone. Today's pairing, we're looking at pairing a beer with some pan-seared sea scallops and winter squash ravioli. And those two dishes are going to have a fair amount of richness to them. There's also some mushrooms in the dish, some shiitake mushrooms, and some parmesan cheese, which is going to add a little bit of like pepperiness, some earthiness, or as we like to call umami flavors. And there's a lot of complexity and a lot of flavors coming out of in this dish. So we want something that can match that intensity, but can also is not going to overpower the delicate scallops and the nice flavors from the cheese. So what I chose here is a Belgian-style Saison, also called a farmhouse ale. And the Saison style is probably one of the most nebulous of all beer styles, in that the style originated from farmer brewers who were just brewing beer on the farm, and they would often brew with just things that they had on hand. So the beer traditionally would be brewed with all kinds of different herbs and spices and grains, brewed using different techniques. And so when commercial brewing started to take off, the style almost went extinct. And we have Saison DuPont to thank for resurrecting the style, and it's now kind of held up as the standard bearer for the style. But what really comes through on these beers is the yeast character. You're going to get some lemon and pepper notes from the yeast. This one in particular is a little bit stronger in alcohol than normal for a normal Saison. It's 8.5. But that extra sweetness, those extra sugars, are going to help it to stand up against those mushrooms and that and the winter squash ravioli, the richness there, as well as the pan-seared scallops. So when we pour beer, we want to kind of do it at a 45-degree angle. We want to make sure that we do get head on the beer. That's always very important, but we also want to make sure that it's done in a way that isn't agitating the beer too much. So I'm just going to do a small pour here. And this beer in particular loves to have a beautiful, big, thick, fluffy head. There's a lot of carbonation in here, which means that it's well attenuated. There's one of those beer geeky words. But that just basically just means the yeast is doing its job very well. It's a hard worker. But this beer is going to have a little bit of tropical fruit flavors from the Amarillo hops. That's going to go just kind of work really nicely with those dried cranberries and help bring out some of the fruit flavors in the squash. But the residual sweetness there from the higher alcohol really makes this a beer that can stand on its own. The kind of farmhouse flavors that we're getting in here from the yeast also are going to match really nicely with the earthy flavors of the mushrooms, as well as the truffle oil and things like that are in the dish. So this is a great beer to check out. We like to say in the beer industry, when you're pairing beer with food, when in doubt, Saison. It's one of those beers that goes great with almost any kind of food. So when in doubt, Saison. I'm Kelsey Roth with Craft Beer Cellar, and we're a proud supporter of the Chef's Table Foundation.